everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our second episode of NAMI Coffee Talks, a podcast designed to resemble a tight-knit discussion about mental health and NAMI events while sharing a cup of coffee. I'm your host, Helen Hu, and today I'll be interviewing two very important and dedicated people who work hard to plan for the largest event of the year. What is it? Yes, you guessed it, the NAMI Walks Silicon Valley. I'm sure you all have burning questions about the walk. Is it still happening? Will there be a virtual format? And most importantly, how many times do I need to walk around my house to complete a 5K? With that said, I'm excited to introduce our two guests for today's podcast, Virginie, or Gini Mitchem for short, and Harold Brown. Gini Mitchem is an integral NAMI volunteer for the NAMI Walk, and she also teaches classes such as the Family to Family class. Harold Brown is Vice President of Fundraising for the board and is a team captain for El Camino Hospital. Welcome to the podcast, and how are you guys doing?
Hi, Helen.
Great.
Hi.
Thank you.
Great.
It's definitely great to have you guys here. So NAMI Coffee Talks is supposed to resemble a tight-knit discussion with cups of coffee, and I know we all brought some interesting mugs here today.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, why don't we begin by showing each other the mugs that we brought?
Yeah.
So I see, Harold, you have a, what mug is that?
It says NAMI on the back right there. See that?
Perfect.
Well, I can see it. Yeah.
And Ginny, what type of mug do you have?
Okay, mine, it has pictures of my granddaughters.
That's
okay.
cute. Mine is definitely not as interesting, but it just says Alaska and
Oh, all right.
yeah.
It's big.
Yep.
Okay.
And so let's dive in. Both of you have very unique and interesting stories. Ginny, you attended the first ever NAMI Walk in the Silicon Valley. So how did you get involved with NAMI at the beginning?
Well, I got involved with NAMI when our daughter needed a visit to the psychiatrist. And particularly, we were trying to find out what was going on. And her psychiatrist was walking rapidly away from us down the passage, and because he didn't want to was concerned about talking to us. And so finally he said, okay, two things. Number one is read the book by E. Fuller Torrey called Surviving Schizophrenia. And secondly, find the organization called PAMI, which at that point was the forerunner of NAMI.
Nice.
And so we did both of those and jumped in with both feet, and that was how we got started.
Wonderful. That's a great story. And Harold, my understanding is that you didn't originally grow up in the state of California. So could you tell us a little bit more about your entire story coming to California and then joining NAMI from there?
Sure. I think that's important to understand my passion for NAMI. I'm a Buckeye. Grew up in a big dairy farming family in Ohio. And it was wonderful. I thought I was the luckiest kid in the world when I was growing up. But regretfully, my family, I always say I inherited some pain from mental illness. Because when my dad was 5 years old, I've got a photo up here of a town, a little village actually, of a street festival. And it has a band over on the left, and even have uniforms on. And over on the right's my father's store. I think it was like a hardware store, farm machinery. And then in the middle, it's a bunch of parents and families with kids all have their dairy calves. And my dad was 5 years old, and his childhood was really beautiful. Growing up on the riverbank with the stern wheelers coming in, and really idyllic, just almost like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. But he had told me that when this photo was taken, that his mom was withdrawn and she was in the back. He thinks maybe she was in the back of the crowd of people. And just a few months after this photo was taken, she went down behind my grandfather's store and poisoned herself and died. And so he lived with that pain and stigma his whole life. And, you know, when that's something like that happens to your parents, you know, you feel it. And then I learned that my grandfather, who lived with us, my mom's father, who was a very successful dairy farmer, I learned that he had episodes of depression. And even after after my mom died, we were looking through letters and discovered that he had actually been confined to the state hospital in Ohio, and that she had gone to see him on the train when she was like only 4 years old. It was one of her earliest memories, to go see her father in the hospital. My mom had episodes of depression, you know, in her life. She was a successful school teacher, but 3 or 4 occasions she was hospitalized, but with good treatment and some medication. I think later in her life, she lived to be 93 years old. She was a successful school teacher and a really wonderful, outgoing person. But there was a lot of tragedy in her family. She lost 3 of her 6 brothers. They were all 3 dairy farmers, and she lost 3 of them to suicide. They happened like 10 years apart. The first one, which was, I was only 14 years old. I was very close to my uncle. And at the time, it was the worst day of my life to lose my uncle. And then I lost 2 other uncles in subsequent years. And anyway, I thought no one had a history like mine. And then, you know, after I came to California, I lost, you know, friends and their family members to suicide because of mental illness. I had my really good friend from first day of school through high school, and we were roommates in college. We stayed in touch during their years in the Air Force. He advised me to go into healthcare computing, and he died of an overdose. And then a very close friend here in California, her son, who just, you know, was only a year out of high school, he took his own life. And then my best friend you know, groom at my wedding, his younger daughter went off to, well, it was when she was working on her master's, and she took an overdose. So I had this, you know, incredible history. And then I didn't, my daughter started having problems when she was in freshman in high school. We noticed that she was scratching her wrist, and that was just, we couldn't understand why was she scratching her wrist. It was just, she was this vivacious, active cheerleader. It wasn't logical. And so she had some therapy and some treatment. We discovered that she had a medical condition, a severe thyroid disease. And finally, when they removed her thyroid gland completely and got her stabilized on synthetic thyroid medication, she really got back on her feet, and she had this really incredible career. She got married, she had 2 children, and then she was being super mom. She had this high-powered, high-tech job, and she would come home, and she was president of the PTA, where our grandchildren are here in Sunnyvale, and were at the time, and she would come home and she wasn't sleeping well. She would stay up and work on her laptop half the night. And when she crashed, she really crashed hard. She was in the hospital 5 times in 30 months. And I think it was El Camino Hospital, the therapist there recommended to my wife and I that we attend a NAMI class. And we attended family to family. And we were very fortunate that the Mitchems, Jenny and John, were our teachers. And we learned so much. My wife, who was a nurse for 40 years, we thought we knew a lot about mental illness, but but it was just just being in that room and talking with other families and parents. It was just huge. I've heard this so many times from people after they took family to family. Why didn't I do it sooner? And that's exactly the way we felt too. So, do you want me to explain how I got involved with NAMI Walks?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm taking a lot of time up here. So when my daughter was ill, I became I started working closely with and spending a lot of time with the behavioral health folks at the hospital. And after having family to family, I became the team captain for the walk team at El Camino Hospital. And and I think there was an important experience there, and I know it was important. One of the things I did as team captain is in fact, I think the first year, I think Gini Mitchem came and helped me. We set up a resource table outside the cafeteria at the hospital in May during Mental Health Week. And we would distribute NAMI literature and materials. And it was just an incredible experience for me, because I had worked at the hospital on and off for most of my career, and people who I'd known for 30 years came up to me, and they never talked about it before, and they came up and said, Harold, I take care of my mom who suffers from depression, or I have a grandson that has a severe mental illness, or I have a family member. The stories were just incredible, and this was just a huge awakening for me. I think the word's epiphany, but it was like I thought had my life experience was so unique, and what I discovered is that mental illness it's part of the human condition. It is so common. It's as common as diabetes and heart disease and cancer, maybe more common. And so that experience of staffing the table for the walk and recruiting people for the walk was just really important for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's so great that you share a very unique perspective, in my opinion. You both are a team captain for El Camino Hospital, and you're also on the board for NAMI, as well as attending these classes as well. So it's great to be able to hear that perspective. And I also think that it's so inspiring for both Harold and Gini, that both of you originally went to NAMI for support, and then you ended up joining NAMI and supporting other people, which is just a great thing to be able to do. So Harold, you shared your role in the NAMI Walk. Gini, do you want to also share what you do?
Sure. Well, way back then, let's see, at the beginning, that was in, that was back in 2004, I think, was the first one. And it was in San Francisco. And I had decided I was going to leave things like being on the board, if I were ever invited, to people like Harold and my dear husband, John, who was very involved at the time. And I said, that's not quite for me at this point, but a walk? Oh yes, absolutely. That's my kind of thing. So I really took that and got on the committee, and a few of us from Santa Clara would gather on weekends for to plan the walk there in San Francisco. And then when it came down, we decided to do our own here as the Silicon Valley Walk. We are now going into our 5th year. It's just wonderful to stay involved, and here we are planning, or I think getting started planning, our first virtual walk. Maybe we're still planning what we're going to do, but this may well be what we'll need to do. And in fact, this past weekend, with our daughter and and her partner, we joined her team and did a virtual walk with NAMI Northern California, and got some really great ideas as to how that might work. So ever onwards, something new, and maybe I could at this time just have John make a quick appearance here with the sign that we carried.
That'd be wonderful.
We carried it through Murphy's up here in the mount, and a lot of people saw it and waved and cheered, and it was a lovely way to be in.
There it is.
There's the sign, and behind that is John. John, move it over a little bit so they can see it. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Captain of Weekend Walkers.
And I recognize that shirt.
Yeah, that's right. So so we've been involved, and I'm really, it's just wonderful to be in this part of the NAMI operations. So.
That's great. It's so great how you took a passion of yours, walking, hiking, and then you made it into something beneficial to the community. And, as you said, this year, it really is an unprecedented year. We're looking into a virtual walk, and I'm sure all of our listeners are very interested in what that's going to be like, and how how we're learning from other NAMI branches as well. Before we get into that, let's discuss what impact the NAMI Walk makes on our community, and what is the reason behind why the NAMI Walks is so important. Anyone can share.
Well, as a Vice President for Fundraising, I'll go first. I'll talk about the fact, and it's pretty obvious, that the walk is very important financially for our affiliate, and it's really been very successful. It's not the largest part of our fundraising, because we do have lots of grants now, particularly for peer support with the hospitals. So that brings in a lot of money, and other programs. But it is the most important part. As a former business manager, I think of it as seed money. It's money that we use to grow and improve our services and expand our programs. And for example, Ending the Silence, which is a program that we take to the schools, and we're growing that. It's going to be a challenge with the COVID-19 pandemic, but still we were able to funnel some of the money from the walk to a program that I think is the best investment we could make, because if we can break down the stigma. And speaking of stigma, Jenny could probably take it from there about the other benefits of this walk other than financial.
Yes. Thank you, Harold. And the parts that I just really feel honored to be a part of are that so many people come together. We walk side by side with people who are dealing with incredible difficulties with their, challenges, I should say, with their illness, and people, families, friends who support them, with the providers. And one of the neat things about having us all together, either virtually or not virtually, is that the providers can see us when we are well. And this is something which doesn't happen often enough, because you don't usually write to your provider and say, hey, I had a great weekend. I went and did this and that. And you go in when your appointment is scheduled, and it's all very, much more official and formal. So the walk is a wonderful place where the providers can see us all together, and we can see them, and plus the fact that, of course, we get such wonderful just integration of all of us together in this effort. And again, whether it be virtual or actual, we will be in touch with people and saying, let's get behind this great organization and the services that we offer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and certainly as a team captain, it's it's been just an opportunity to meet more people.
Yeah.
Meet more people at El Camino Hospital, the providers, and the families of patients. And we on our team at El Camino, we tend to bring in new family members every year from people who regretfully have had to seek treatment with El Camino. Another thought I had when we were talking was that when we were doing the Bay Area walk, that was really an incredible experience for me too, because I got to meet people from all these other affiliates, and that really gave me a bit different feel for the fact that this is a really vibrant, far-reaching organization, and to meet people from around the Bay Area. I think it was we had 9 counties involved at one point. I think, Jenny.
At one point,
So that was really important.
It was.
Yeah, for me. But it's the walk day, and and it's even the execution, the planning of the walk and working as a team. It's exciting when you work as a team and you pull something off and you make it better every year.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think something unique about this year actually is that there's even the chance, since we're having it online, to have more people watching, because even if people don't feel comfortable just going by themselves to NAMI Walk, or previously they weren't part of the organization, this time it might be more accessible to them. And, they might be interested in learning more about NAMI Walks and participating online. So it's definitely a unique experience. And I know that Gini and Harold, both of you attended virtual NAMI Walks from other areas, Oregon, Westchester. So do you guys want to talk a little bit more about what those experiences were like?
Well, go ahead, Jenny. You've participated in the Northern California walk.
Yeah, well, we joined, and we had this, because, there are the two sort of time frames for the walks, one in the spring and one in the fall. The Northern California, NAMI Walks Northern California was scheduled for the middle of May. And so we signed up and joined Heidi's team, which was the representation for Calaveras County up here in the mountains. And so we were all set for that. And then when they made it virtual, we said, okay, well, we're on. And that's when we decided that we could, up here in Murphy's, there's not a lot of people, and so it would be absolutely appropriate to take a walk around. We started out at a coffee shop someplace, which and we met one of Heidi's friends, who is actually president of the her NAMI group up here, and NAMI Gold Country. And so there were 5 of us plus 1 dog, and we walked down the main street of this lovely town of Murphy's, and then over to Ironstone Vineyards, and saw, as we said, with the signs, quite a lot of people along the way who waved, and we waved, and so we had a certain amount of exposure there. And that was great. We also did hear the presentations by the leaders of the group, and the president of Sacramento NAMI, and things like that. So there was the official kind of introductory phase as well, which we saw, I think, later on YouTube, but that worked well. And pictures of people that they had sent in also as they videoed themselves walking. I was too busy holding the sign or the dog, so I didn't have a chance to do that, but a lot of people did send in photographs and videos. And so it gave me lots of good ideas of what we might do. And one of the things I'm wondering is kind of, again, a neighborhood walk with a few of your friends wherever you live in Silicon Valley might be a very efficient, very effective rather, way to involve people.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's like we're all walking, but just not together, but we're still
Right.
connected virtually.
Yeah.
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 And one of the benefits that Jenny participating in the Northern California walk is we get a sneak preview of the T-shirt.
That's right. I forgot to say, and we have our T-shirts coming. So.
Do you have that T-shirt on today?
No, this is last year's because we haven't got it yet.
That's last year's. Okay.
But we have ordered them. Yes.
Yeah. So for $100, anybody that registers for the walk gets the T-shirt. This is actually I don't know if this was 2016. I guess this was a Silicon Valley.
It was a Silicon Valley, but it was one of the first, I think. Yeah.
Our first year.
Nice.
And
like vintage.
I think just to digress a bit, one of the things I want to say about our walk, and whether walking physically or walking virtually, is that NAMI is unique in that it doesn't cost people anything to participate.
Right.
We value participation. And it's so important for us to be out there and to, and relate with people and see that we're not alone, see the oneness of this illness. And so I think that's really important for people to highlight. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. And adding to that real quickly, because you can participate without any money involved, or we certainly have friends who have had neighbors. This is all I have, but here's $1. And that is probably in many ways just such a valuable contribution, because we know that it's from the heart. It is recognizing what we're all trying to do together. And so, absolutely.
So everything counts. And and we also are looking for volunteers, right? To help out in any way you can for this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So we've kind of been scrambling to understand what a virtual walk really is. And I think, when you start, it's really scary. I mean, it's really obviously about social media. You got to really be able to understand, and social media and getting things out there. And oh wow, how are we going to do this and produce it and all that? But I think Jenny's on our committee, and we have as committee members them checked out and monitored the spring walks that NAMI has. NAMI has almost 80 or 90 walks around the country, maybe more now with the virtual walks. And so we got to see how they did that in May, and it was exciting. Although there were some that were pretty boring, we did conclude that if you just have talking faces the whole time, it's pretty boring. I think. It's sort of like these virtual high school graduations. It's like it's the students, it's the photos and the collages and the music and all those things that kind of make it interesting. And but we've seen some really fun. Some of the affiliates have really done a fun job with their walk, and made it something you really want to check out, and be part of. So we'll be building. Fortunately, we have until, we're not really sure the actual date that we're going to put our production together, and we'll be working with National on that to see if they want to do it on one day. September 19th was when we were going to do our Silicon Valley walk at Guadalupe Park, but that's just not going to happen this year. So we will. It'll be in that same time, either late September or early October. I think we have a mental health. There's something
mental health week,
in October. So we'll pull it all together. We have a long time, and we really can collect lots of, and we want people to participate. We want our membership to participate. We want them to send us photos. We want them to make little videos and send us videos. And pets, we
Oh yes, oh yes.
yeah, our committee meeting. We even Jenny got her dog and show.
Our daughter, yeah. Our daughter and her partner, Molly the dog came with us, and she's already being
it's
being
funny
groomed to be a pet team captain. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny how this whole thing, you got all these celebrity people and TV journalists, reporting from their home, and they've got their pets in the background.
Yeah,
so all of a sudden, people are interested in their pets. So,
But Harold, we mustn't forget Sadie. So she'll be a co-captain or a.
We'll have Sadie. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to the marketing team just, I think, 2 days ago, and we were talking about having a pet walk, just separately, just a pet walk for all of the NAMI members' pets. And,
Oh.
And video, we could probably put little signs on them or something, and
Yeah, that's right.
Put some bright green ribbons on them, and that'd be In fact, I've got those bright green ribbons that we put on the sweet man for the walk. I could put a great big ribbon.
I don't know. I think Molly might eat hers, but
yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah. So I think we're starting to feel more comfortable, certainly, and we're starting to get actually kind of excited about the experience of a virtual walk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you guys already mentioned, I think the 2 ingredients for the best virtual walk would probably be, one, authenticity, just having, all of the members be able to sit outside, just take a video and share their story. And then the second one would be really like creativity, just have fun with it and have everyone involved. And so I guess that would be one way in which people could help. And I'm sure everyone who's listening who wants to help out with the cause also wants to know how they can also contribute in whatever situation that they're in to the NAMI Walks. So could you guys talk a little bit about how people could help?
Well, I think there will be articles coming in the newsletter. And as we continue with our meetings of the NAMI Walk committee, we will have more specific ideas about, that we need somebody for this or somebody for that. One of the things that we saw in, I think it was in the Oregon Walk, was illustrations by people along of showing the route and with really cute cartoon pictures. So if we think we want to do something like that, we can ask for somebody who likes to draw, who is an artist. Please step up. Go ahead, Harold.
We've decorated shoes in the past,
exactly,
and so we certainly want to have, I don't know if we'll do new shoes, but we're going to show the shoes that people have done. So because they're so neat and they're so creative, and they just go along with the theme of the walk. And so we'll do that. I think certainly we'll send out, registration is important. So we'll be kicking off the registration process. And we might even with this video, maybe, have in that the link to the website for people.
Absolutely.
And of course, the team captains, we introduce we encourage all of our team members to sign up for the team. There was another thought there. I lost it, but anyway. Oh, this is a big year for NAMI, Clara County. This is our 45th anniversary year.
Oh,
so we're thinking about how we can really make sure people understand that and acknowledge it, because that's really significant to be around for, and to do all the wonderful things that our organization has done for 45 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm going to just kind of go off on a tangent here, but I got to say this, that I feel so privileged to be a part of this organization. I've met so many wonderful people.
Yes.
And the people on our board, it's just a privilege to work with them and with just everyone. It's a great organization. And I think it's great because we have this common, bond and goal, to support and educate, people about mental illness. And so I'm blessed. I feel that I found NAMI, and particularly NAMI Santa Clara County. So
yeah.
And we say that at least John and I, that no, NAMI found us. We weren't looking for NAMI, but NAMI found us, through our daughter, and we are again also so blessed to have met so many wonderful people, and that it's really one of the great things that NAMI does. So lots of ideas of how. And another thing that we have seen from some of the other videos is people telling their stories on a short clip that shows then on the NAMI Walk page.
Yeah.
And that might be something people might want to do. So we got quite a few ideas coming up already. So
exactly.
And Helen, I want to tell you that I'm thankful that you found.
I'm thankful.
Well.
Yes.
And thank you so much for the work that you've done as an intern for us, and I'm just so impressed that and thank you for helping put this together. I'm really impressed with you and your maturity at such a young age. So
yeah, I think just what we just said really reaffirms, I think, the purpose of the podcast, because all of us have such interesting stories, and yet we're a community together. And I think sharing all of this on the podcast and being able to interview so many interesting people it's been such a great experience for me as well. But as we just said, we have so many different ideas. We have videos sharing our stories, we have pets, we have lots of different things going on. And so for our listeners out there, there are many ways in which you can kind of keep track, in which we are updating and we're asking for registration. So I think there are three main ways in which you guys could stay connected. The first one is the website. The website link will be in the description below. I believe it's namiwalks.org/Silicon Valley. And the second way is to subscribe to the newsletter so you can stay updated about all NAMI events. And finally, make sure to follow us on social media. So we have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course we have YouTube as well, in which you can kind of get links to sign up for certain things and just keep on getting updated about upcoming events. And I think now would be a good time to thank our sponsors as well. As we know, our sponsors mean a lot to us, and we wouldn't be able to do so many things without our sponsors, our volunteers, our participants, our teams. Everyone is so important to us. So far this year, we have 97 participants and 21 teams as of this morning, which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'd just like to thank a few of our most dedicated sponsors and individual donors. I would like to thank Mary Alexander, Mary and Nava Statman, Alkermes, Star One Credit Union, the Benford Team, Santa Clara Family Health Plan, and John and Gini Mitchem. The full list of top fundraisers and top teams can be found on the NAMI Walks Silicon Valley website, which will be linked again in the description below.
And we'll have a lot of additional sponsors. And if anybody listening has knows someone or a business or an employer or just anything, just call the office, and we have a digital and a hard copy package, sponsorship package that we can send out.
And to our listeners, now more than ever, we need your support. There are 4 ways you can help with the NAMI Walks. First, register to be a team on the website, and it will be linked in the description below. And second, due to the virtual format, we are looking for volunteers. And if you want to help out with the NAMI Walks, just make sure to stay involved and contact us at the description below as well. And third, if you have a connection to a business with a matching service and you're interested in helping out and donating to NAMI, you can contact the office and we will mail you a sponsorship package, either digitally or in paper. And finally, be creative. Make sure to follow us on social media for updates, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and stay involved. Thank you, Harold and Gini, for being on this podcast. We had a great time, and we all have a message for you all. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
See you all.
See you on Walk Day, and enjoy the coffee.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.